Hi and welcome. I am your host, Larry DeMarco, and this afternoon we are here with Leon Koziol. He is a civil rights attorney of 23 years. Lee, thanks for being a guest on my show.
Happy to be here, Larry. Thanks for inviting me.
We met a little over a year ago at your event, Parents March on Washington, where you were bringing attention to needed protection for whistleblowers. What is a whistleblower and what law is there protecting them?
Well, whistleblowers really, they exist throughout society. A lot of people are whistleblowers and they don't even know it. For example, people who file grievances with the Judicial Conduct Commission, they're blowing the whistle on corruption when they issue a complaint like that. That's the broader sense, or the broader definition of a whistleblower. The kind that we are more accustomed to hearing in TV documentaries and so forth are those like along the lines of Edward Snowden, for example, perhaps one of the most famous whistleblowers of our day. But there are people who are more accurately on the inside of an enterprise, a corporation, an agency, especially in government, and they expose something that is wrong, illegal, potentially harmful to society, and they expose it, and then there's retaliation. Retaliation in a variety of different sorts, that either demotions, downright right to dismissals, and sometimes, like in my case, a drawn-out ordeal by my profession, the bar of New York State.
So, what law is in existence already on the books now to protect whistleblowers?
Well, in my context, there is none. In fact, there was like no whistleblower protected laws until recent decades. For example, now we have an IRS whistleblower law. We have Brad Birkenfeld, who spent almost 3 years in a federal prison. They went after him. They targeted him because he exposed the Swiss bank scandal, and he, as a result of exposing that, the U.S. government brought many millions of dollars back into the government because they went after those people, the millionaires and billionaires that were hiding their money in Swiss banks. But initially, he was targeted. And eventually they let him out of jail because under the IRS Whistleblower Protection Act, he was wrongly targeted and prosecuted. You can always find something that somebody did wrong, and that's what they do. They blow it out of proportion. Also known as a witch hunt. That's a form of, whistleblower punishment that people endure. Brad Birkenfeld, by the way, obtained a $104 million recovery against the federal government as a result of the retaliation against him. And I, by the way, met him and other whistleblowers at the Whistleblower Convention. It's an annual event in Washington, D.C., and I got his book, and I wrote a book similar in terms of the whistleblower activity that I was subjected to.
You were a whistleblower. What misconduct did you observe and report, and how were you retaliated against?
I exposed corruption in what I call the divorce industry. Dr. Joe Sorge, Divorce Court, he did that very extensive multi-million-dollar video series exposing what he saw as corruption. He got me on one of his video series, and that's one aspect of it. Corruption in family courts is a big part of it. What I'm focused on mostly is the harm to children and families caused by lawyers who overbill them and lawyers who create needless controversy. They get mom and dad fighting, and that sort of arena is the last place you want to see attorneys. They are gladiators by definition. They cross-examine people using the most ruthless of questioning. I've done it myself many times and won a lot of cases, especially during cross-examination. What that does, however, is it creates such divisiveness. The entire families are bankrupted. So I exposed these lawyers, and one of them happened to be on the ethics committee in my district. And the same day that I exposed him in arguments in front of an appeals court judge, and in New York is the appellate division that disciplines attorneys, that same day, I learned only a few days later, the file was open on me. After 23 unblemished years, and all of a sudden, they were going back 5 years and more to find anybody that ever complained. And then they blew that out of proportion and came after me for really petty things. And it was the kind of ordeal that no one should endure. And as an attorney, I lost everything as a result. Retaliation was horrific.
And it led to a suspension for a relatively extremely minor offense, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, originally they offered an admonition, the first disciplinary act ever taken against me. And an admonition is a confidential item in your confidential file. Nobody even knows it happens. What I did is, during the witch hunt, they were committing misconduct. Now, you know as an attorney, if there's prosecutorial misconduct, you can move for dismissal of the indictment or the charges. Well, I found prosecutorial misconduct with the lawyer who was coming after me, and I believe she was told to do this. This was not some independent judgment on her part because of the timing. You know, when you prove retaliation as a result of whistleblowing activity, it's typically done through circumstantial inference. Whistleblowers not going to admit they're involved in a witch hunt. And so I exposed her making a false statement to the committee that she works for. And when I exposed that, and it was clear, it was on the face of the papers, there was no denying that she lied. She said that I didn't seek an adjournment, which I did. All of a sudden, because of that, they withdrew the offer of the confidential admonition for all those same, 5 files or whatever they were, and they went forward with disciplinary charges to go after my license, and that led to the first disciplinary suspension.
So you brought attention to this misconduct. They suspended you for a minor offense. And how have you been fighting for stronger whistleblowers like yourself? What have you been doing to get protection from whistleblowers, and what protection would you like to see? If you can take that compound question.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Lawyers are good at that. But as far as, whistleblower protection, as I pointed out, there is none for lawyers, okay? But the standard methodology for challenging government corruption or retaliation of that sort has been around a while. Since 1961, the U.S. Supreme Court opened the door to civil rights cases for government misconduct. And those are the types of cases that I have brought. The only kind that I can bring. But see, I'm in a whole different ballgame because the employers, if you will, the regulators are judges.
That was going to be my question. Lee, we can file civil rights claims, but aren't we asking the fox to not bite, to not go into the hen house when we file a civil rights claim?
Larry, that was actually the headline story on those 3 lawyers, the chief lawyer and his deputy lawyers that were engaged in the witch hunt against me. The headline story was foxes watching the chicken coop were allowed to resign, and some media caught it and exposed it. See, because it damages the reputation of the judiciary, so they cover it, but nobody is watching them.
So let's make that point. So the civil rights cause of action is one thing that we can do, but it really, really is going to be a lot of effort, a lot of money, for very little result, because we don't expect them to correct themselves, or at least they have not traditionally. What law are you fighting for? What protection would you like to see?
Well, I'd like to see judicial immunity scaled back to allow. Right now, you could sue, contrary to what most people think. You can sue a judge, and I have, by the way, and successfully. I got a gag order removed from my website in 2016. I sued a higher judge in the New York Supreme Court. To my surprise and pleasure, one of the few things I was able to get was signed against this family court judge.
But what more do we need? What more do we need?
You can bring a declaratory judgment act against a judge. That's what I did. But they dismissed the components that had to do with damages. I'm constantly trying to challenge, through precedent litigation, open the doors to some damage claims. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, we should get monetary recovery, for example, if they go beyond the scope of their judicial function. For example, the Wade McCree in Michigan. He impregnated one of the litigants and during a support case, and she became pregnant and Chambers, and the same judge put a monitor on the opponent in that litigation. He's presiding over this case, and they did throw him off the bench, but they did not give the father in that case monetary damages for what was caused, because he was having an adulterous affair with the other litigants. So the essence of that, the Supreme Court refused to hear the case. The middle level federal appeals court said judicially immune. The conclusion to draw from that is judicial adultery in chambers is a judicial act. And if you can believe that, then you have a problem, because no citizen would agree that that's the case. So that's what I mean, that sort of thing. Well, Larry, in my case, because I'm still, by the way, I'm still a member of the New York Bar. It's a 10-year suspension, perhaps the longest on record for this sort of thing, okay? Take Stanley Cohen, an attorney in New York. He represented a nephew of Osama bin Laden. He represented cop killers and terrorists, and he went to prison, federal prison, for tax evasion. He got out in 2016. He was disbarred. Okay, that's a 7-year period. Suspensions vary, but they're generally, much smaller than 7 years. And they reinstated him in 2018, only 2 years later, okay, after disbarment and federal crimes. I'm over 10 years, and each time I come in for reinstatement, they come up with such things, and this was said in court, but it was a closed, confidential hearing. I have since reopened it in my case, because those lawyers, eventually discharged for falsifying their timesheets, stated to the court, we're going to continue to oppose Mr. Koziol's reinstatement applications as long as he continues to file against judges and speak out as he has been doing.
Is there something that could protect you from doing what you're doing or saying what you're saying?
Larry, common sense and general American, society opinion would say yes, there has to be. That's a First Amendment violation. Retaliation for expressing, and if what I was saying was false, they would have been all over that.
So let's assume it's all true, but what can we do? What can we do about this? You hold rallies, you schedule inspiring, motivational rallies, and you set memos for action. What would you like to see? What is the solution for us as people who might be facing judicial retaliation like yourself?
You have to get a whistleblower protection law in the judiciary, because it's a separate branch of government. I don't think you could go to Congress or to the legislature and they can pass such a law, and they might still overrule that with this judicial immunity doctrine, okay? But you really need you need protection for lawyers, because think of this, like, even lawyers don't specialize in certain areas, okay? I, for example, would be hard-pressed to do, a patent prosecution, for example, okay? General practitioners themselves are at risk, okay? But we are the ones, and as a civil rights attorney, I was uniquely qualified to expose this corruption, to protect other people. But if the person that is qualified to expose corruption in a sophisticated arena like the legal profession, if what happens to that person is what happens to me, what did happen to me, imagine what's going to happen to everyone else who is not legally sophisticated and they're vulnerable. They won't even know that the judge in chambers or elsewhere is conspiring, with their adversary. And there are too many cases like that, and many more that we will never know. Gerald Garson, caught for bribery. And another one, Thomas Spargo, both state Supreme Court judges, both engaged in bribery, both in divorce cases, one for the mother and one for the father. They were paid off.
So let's review what you just said. So you said the person qualified to do this, someone like you, a civil rights attorney, they retaliated against. So you said, well, wait a minute, we can't go to the branch of government, number 1 or 2, executive or legislative, because they don't govern the conduct of the judiciary. So are we looking at the Supreme Court rules committees of these individual states? Is that where we advocates want to focus our efforts?
That is one, yes. I think if we went to all the chief justices of the states, got a petition, for example, and this is something I've been working on. I do these conference calls with people around the country every Monday and Thursday, and they're principally victims of divorce and family courts. Keep in mind, Larry, that we have some serious problems now. When we went to Washington last year, it was a 3-day event, very successful. We visited all the offices of Congress. We delivered reports that exposed this, and ironically, I called it an epidemic. asking for the Justice Department to investigate these courts because of Title IV defunding. They reward judges by the size and number of support orders they issue. That makes them inherently biased. If you're a support magistrate, you got the largest number of support orders and the largest size in those numbers. You're going to be elevated. And you get all kinds of money from the federal government to the tune of billions of dollars. So as you know, yesterday or last year, among the things we were asking for was a hearing in front of a congressional hearing, oversight hearing, for example, judiciary committee hearing. There are lots of committees that could come within the ambit, the Health and Human Services Department, to investigate what is going on here, because I think there's a vast abuse of federal funds. And in my case, I could tell you upwards to $50,000 was misapplied and allowed the local courts to get more money, therefore, pursuant to the Title IV defunding scheme. That's complicated. I won't get into it. Long story, but it's just one of many ordeals that I've gone through. The fix was in and free speech was out.
All right.
That's what happened. And it's 12 years I've been through this, Larry.
Well, on this next one, we wish you good luck on your reinstatement, and we'll leave it there. And I want to thank you for being a guest on my channel.
Thank you too, Larry. Good luck.
We have been here with Leon Koziol, and I am your host, Larry DeMarco. If you like this video, like, follow, and share it with everyone on your contact list, and join in the fight against corruption. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
PA Voter Information Network. It's a game changer.